All right, thank you all for being here. We'll keep this short and take questions afterwards. Justice for Palestine Maganjan condemns the recent attack by the LNP government on our movement by criminalising a chant that calls for equality for all people living in the geographical area between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. The fact that this chant originated in 1960 shows how long Palestinians have been asking for their rights to be recognized. But instead of having this acknowledged, our Premier has disgracefully moved to criminalise it. And for those who suggest that our chants and slogans are somehow intimidating, I urge you to have a good look at the findings of every major human rights organization that concluded genocide is occurring in Palestine. Every major human rights organization that lays bare the violations of international law and human rights principles by Israel, whose leaders are wanted for crimes against humanity and war crimes. And if a chant that calls for equality for all people is deemed intimidating, then how should we, Palestinians, feel about the statements of Israeli President Isaac Herzog, who disgraced this country, and whose statement was used by the UN Commission to conclude genocide is occurring? The man who deliberately blurred the lines between children and combatants in Gaza and advocated for the indiscriminate killing of all Palestinians in Gaza. We will not stop communicating the message of justice, and that recent attack isn't only ignorant, it goes directly against our right to freedom of speech. We will defend our right to stand up for people who are being killed as we speak. But instead of talking about the killing and the slaughter that is occurring, we are forced to talk about slogans today. So I would like to remind every one of you, starting from our Premier, that a genocide is still occurring in Gaza. And we are waiting to see the content of this legislation to explore our legal avenues for our court challenge.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Ed Carroll. I am a representative of the Jewish Solidarity Group, Remah Naji. I'm also a friend of the Jewish group, Jewish Voices for Hope in Brisbane, and a very close friend of the Jewish Council of Australia. I'm standing here today in front of you all.
We can't hear it today.
I'm standing here today as a representative of the Jewish community who are very strongly against the weaponization of our identity and the politicization of what's happened in Bondi. I attended the memorial that was in the Brisbane City Hall that was put on by the Jewish Council of Deputies for Queensland, and I was shocked and horrified by the cheap politicisation, in particular the words of an Islamophobic member of a far-right group called Minority Impact. And I know several of my friends who attended that, who were of the Muslim persuasion, walked out during that speech, and not once has that been condemned. Not once have I seen any condemnation of the Islamophobic attacks that happened at the Bald Hills Mosque. Not once have I seen any sort of media representation for the envoy against Islamophobia. And that is not equal, and therefore it is not fair. And I'm here as a Jewish Australian and a political leader to say that we stand completely against the actions of Jason Steinberg and of David Crisafulli. To conflate our identity as Jewish Australians with what Israel is perpetuating, and even Israeli human rights organisations like B'Tselem have continued to confirm that it is a genocide, is disgusting. And we do not accept Isaac Herzog's visit to Australia in any way represents the Jewish community at large. We are not a monolith. Only today, in response to the visit by the Israeli president, over 1,000 Jews signed on to an open letter by the Jewish Council of Australia that was published in the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, saying that we do not accept Israel as acting in our name, and that Isaac Herzog, I should say, should be immediately either excommunicated from Australia or detained immediately and sent to the ICC to face justice. To David Crisafulli, I give you this very simple message. If you do not stop the politicisation of our identity, and you do not stop aligning yourself with the forces of genocide, of sexual crimes, and of hatred against Muslims and Arabs, we will stand up and defeat you at the next election. We will organise, we will strike down these hate speech laws, and we will win. The phrase "from the river to the sea" is not only used by Palestinians, it is used by the primary government party in Israel. And when they use it, it is a deliberate call to genocide and ethnic cleansing. We stand against that. And if David Crisafulli attempts to move forward with this hate speech, we will challenge in the court for Queensland, in the Court of Human Rights for Queensland, that Likud should be struck off as a terrorist organisation in Australia. These laws are cheap, these laws are poorly thought through, and these laws are an aberration against the free society that Australia stands for and that so many Jewish Australians stand for. Thank you.
Where have you been for 2 years?
With us.
Folks, I'm so grateful to all of those people across the country, everyone here who has come out to send a very clear and a very simple message that we do not condone, we will not support an invitation to a head of state from a genocidal government. We will not support an invitation and we will not condone their actions. These invitations, these diplomatic invitations, are not neutral. It is a show of support for this government, the Israeli government, that has been engaged in a project of genocide against Palestinians for 2 years and 4 months now. I doubt there's anyone here who wouldn't condemn the horrific actions on the 7th of October 2023, but nothing can justify the barbarity, the ferocity, the absolutely immoral and internationally unlawful response from the Israeli government. Now, when the Prime Minister invites the head of the Israeli state, he actively conflates the state of Israel and Judaism. He makes the same mistake that countless organisations, including the conservative media, have made over the past 2 years. And he does so to the detriment of all Jewish people. This fans the flames of anti-Semitism. It does nothing to try and address the ongoing Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, racism of any kind in our communities, and we all have to stand against it. I just can't help but wonder how it is that of all the 93 members of Queensland Parliament, I'm the only one who is prepared to stand here in solidarity with you and speak against this invitation And how is it that the Greens are the only party that isn't offering some mealy-mouthed support for these proposed hate speech laws that are going to crack down on freedom of speech? I know that the suggestion that government's behaving in Orwellian ways now, it's almost too easy to overuse it because of the state of the world, but this is insane. We've got an LNP administration that's just deputised itself the thought police and is going to criminalise the use of words. It's going to dictate what a certain phrase means and criminalise its use. That is disgraceful, and we cannot stand for it. Stand with me and stand with the Greens, and we'll oppose this every step of the way.
I'm just going to repeat, because the microphone was not working, I repeat that Justice for Palestine Maganjan condemns the recent attack by the LNP government on our movement by criminalising a chant that calls for equality for all people who live in the geographical area between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. And again, the fact that Palestinians have been using this chant since the 1960s shows how long Palestinians have been asking for their rights to be recognized. But instead of acknowledging this, our Premier has moved to criminalize it. This is not only ignorant, it also goes against our right to freedom of speech, and we will explore every legal avenue to challenge this in court. Have a good one. From the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free!
from the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
We're happy to take questions now. Absolutely. Look, this is a dangerous precedent. And the way we're looking at things, if we start criminalizing words, and if our Premier is so concerned about words, well, he needs to look at the statement of the Israeli President, whose very own words were used to conclude a genocide is occurring in Palestine. If words are of concern, he should start there. We're waiting to see the content of the legislation. Yes, we're planning on another protest potentially on Thursday, but we will advertise once a decision has been made. Look, I refuse for our fight for freedom to be reduced to words. And our struggle is way beyond chance. Genocide is a crime of crimes, and we are prepared to defend our right to communicate the message of justice and peace upon which this movement is built. Yes, we are prepared to defend our rights, and yes, we are prepared to defend our freedom of speech. Nothing is going to stop us. Crisafulli can criminalize slogans as he wants. We are continuing to advocate for the rights of Palestinians to live freely, with dignity, from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea.
I would also like to say, in answer to that question, are we prepared to go to jail? I said in a speech here in King George Square a little bit over a year ago that we could see this path happening down the road. And I said in that speech that I was prepared to do so. I would like to see David Crisafulli send a Jewish man to jail for alleged anti-Semitism. I'd like to see him cover.
I think this is, again, ignorance, because Hamas was established in the 1987. This slogan goes back to the 1960s. We've been resisting oppression and the occupation of our land since 1948. To claim that this is somehow linked to Hamas is to ignore the origins of this slogan. And if we are talking about links, how about we talk about the direct link between our Australian government and the genocide that occurred in Palestine, and that's through the weapons exports. This is where the conversation needs to be happening.
Also, Palestinians are not a monolith. Do not reduce our entire plight to one political party. There are many political parties in Palestine, and all of them agree from the river to the sea is a chant for all Palestinians and not one political party.
Any more questions before we go? From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free.
Thank you.